Because if you take pictures, I can't highlight and make comments. If you type, I can't. No.
No, I basically wish all that.
All right, but you know what? The Mayans are still discovering, or not the Mayans, sorry. People, our archaeologists are still discovering other Mayan pyramids that they did not see, or that they did not know about originally. So this is in the Yucatan, really rainforest type deal.
Oh, wow.
This is another Mayan pyramid that I could actually climb to the top of. And you can see it's pretty steep, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
Why did you fall down?
Huh?
Why did you fall down? Like, down the pyramid?
Oh yeah, if I fell down, that would hurt. Probably kill myself, break my neck.
That's tough.
All right.
Hello.
Yeah. So this was discovered within the last 20 years.
Oh.
Okay. Because before that, the rainforest had kind of covered it up and was hiding it. And so as people were exploring in the Yucatan, they were like, hey, wait a second. This is a pyramid. Right there.
You look very different.
Yes, you
You look like that dude from TikTok.
Okay. So this was back when I was there. It was not yet a World Heritage Site, which means I could climb it. But as soon as it becomes a World Heritage Site, which it may, it is, you can't climb it anymore. Because the climbing aspect of it, like people walking up and down, we slowly erode the stone with our feet. And so if enough people do it, the structure will, it does not help preserve the structure. But here you can see that they're still excavating the area around it. All right. This is near Chichen Itza. And you can see there's a little like a donut here on this side, right? And there's another one over on this side. Now what this was a field, like a court type, a sports court, if you want to look at it that way. And the goal was they had like this 8 to 10 pound ball of rubber, hard rubber,
Wait,
that they would have to hit with their elbows or their knees to get that ball through that little circle there. Yes. Christian.
so it's basically a ball of rubber bands.
No, not rubber bands. Ball of rubber, like
How
solid
did
rubber.
they even get to that?
Well, the rubber is a resin from the trees. Like rubber comes from trees. And so that's where they got the ball. And we can, rubber deteriorates over time. So archaeologists estimate that it was about an 8 to 10 pound ball based on the size of the hole and what was left over, what's been left over. Yeah. But that's hard. 8 to 10 pounds. If you're going to be hitting it with how many of y'all bowled? Have ever gone bowling? What pound ball have y'all used?
Like
I don't remember.
smallest one.
8 pound ball.
Yeah.
Is that heavy?
I
Yeah.
have a 6 pound ball.
Right? I mean, can you imagine hitting that 8 pound bowling ball with your forearm
You'll break it.
to send? Yeah, it's a little bit different material, but it's still heavy, right? I remember when I was a junior in high school, summer after my junior year of high school, I went to the Naval Academy for a summer seminar, kind of a life as a Naval Academy student. And in one of our days there, we spent the entire day doing PT.
Oh,
And one of the segments that we went to was at the natatorium, where the Naval Academy had their swimming pools. They had 4 Olympic-sized swimming pools, and this segment was being organized by Naval Academy students that were training to be Navy SEALs. So it was kind of a high level. And one of the exercises they had us do as a squad is get in the pool. It's 12 feet deep.
Oh, okay.
And they gave us a 10 pound medicine ball
Okay.
that we had to
keep out
try
of water.
to hold out of the water and like treading water as, oh, we dropped it immediately,
Nice.
Wait, how long do you have to hold it for?
as long as we could. We dropped like,
No,
because imagine you have a squad of like 6 to 8 people,
Mm-hmm.
all trying to tread water in the same area. You're gonna be kicking each other.
Cool.
And so that's what we did, and we ended up dropping it pretty quickly. But that was hard to do, to hold it up. So imagine like an 8-pound, 10-pound ball. That's exhausting.
It looks pretty high too.
Yeah, it is.
Do
Now-
that?
Okay, now, so it looks pretty high. We actually don't know. This is how far they excavated it. We don't necessarily know where the floor of their court was.
Oh, okay.
Like, it could have been upper. It could have been higher up. Now, one of the teams at the end of these games would be sacrificed.
Huh.
Okay,
One of the teams,
One of the entire, like, whole.
one of the
team.
entire teams,
Oh.
at the end of these games, would be sacrificed.
Survival.
Which one do you think it is? The winner or the loser?
The winner. The
Winner.
The winner.
Loser.
The winner would be sacrificed.
So, you just try not to win.
No. Okay. So this
Here's the.
was the mentality. This was the mentality. They believed, the Mayans believed, that if sorry, the Mayans believed that if a sacrifice was not made, a great calamity would come to the Mayan people, and the Mayan people would suffer. Okay,
Well, it did happen. So.
similar to Avengers Endgame.
Oh.
Okay, because what did Tony Stark do in Avengers Endgame?
He killed himself.
Risked his own life. to
It
save
wasn't just a risk. He knew that he was going to
Yeah.
die. Okay, he knew that he was going to die, but he did it anyway in order to save everybody else. So think of that mentality when we look at human sacrifice on here. The winning team was going to be the team that was honored with the sacrifice that would save the entire civilization. That was the belief they had. Okay, even though now we can say that belief was malarkey, back then that was their belief, and if that's their belief, does that seem reasonable? Christian,
I have a question
that's why I called on you.
about the Cornonas.
Yes,
I have already written some of them in here.
type
Is
them
there
up.
like a way to actually scan this and then put it on
No,
a
type them up.
I wasted a lot of time doing 5 whole entire pages of written out Cornonas.
Okay, but this is a closer picture of the gold.
It's pretty small.
It is. It is. So that's a Mayan calendar right there. Okay. It did have 365 days, which we measure 365 days as a measure of what? How long does it take something to happen?
An hour?
What happens in 365 days?
A year?
So what happens?
The world revolves on the sun.
Yeah.
The world revolves around the sun in 1 year, or in 365 days, the world revolves around the sun. The Mayan calendar had accurately predicted that 365 days for the world to revolve around the sun. And they did not have telescopes or satellites or anything like that. This was based off observation of the stars and observation of the sun. That's pretty impressive.
That's smarter than you all ever.
No, they're not smarter than we'll ever be, but that's pretty impressive for them. Okay, they collapsed around 900.
Nice.
We don't know why. There's one theory that these buildings here. So in order to build them, you had to put stones together, right? And you needed something to hold the stones together.
Rice. Blood.
No.
Oh.
They needed some type of, like today with bricklaying work, what holds bricks together?
Cement.
It's called mortar.
Oh,
right? It's kind of like a cement.
it's like the
Right.
Chinese wall.
But here they used a pitch. It was a pitch. And they got the pitch by burning down trees, by cutting down trees, burning it, and creating pitch out of the sticky substance out of the remnants of a tree. So if this is a religion, like the Mayans were religious leaders, the Mayans followed religious leaders, right? They're the ones who are overseeing the games where one team is going to be sacrificed. They're also the ones overseeing the pyramids. Okay? So the religious leaders are saying, hey, we need to build more pyramids to appease our gods, or maybe it's just because I'm a religious leader and I want a pyramid. What has to happen? They have to burn down more trees. Now you're in the rainforest. Does your survival require the creatures living in the rainforest?
Yeah.
And the fruits and everything that's being grown there, right? So one of the major theories as to maybe what happened to the Mayans is that they went through a long period of famine or drought, partly due because of their deforestation.
So that was just like a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, they the religious leaders of the Mayans, their pride convinced people to build bigger pyramids or more pyramids, and as a result of that pride, the forests around them were destroyed, and ultimately led to, I mean, if civilization loses its food source, will the people move away to find food?
It would, yeah.
Yeah. And what's a civilization without people?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So there's some evidence to suggest that the Mayan people, that they did move away. Some of them may have moved up further into North America. Because later on in lesson 3, we'll look at a group of Native Americans called mound builders. And they built structures similar to the Olmec or to the Mayan. Kind of pyramidal structures similar. So they could have migrated searching for food and settled elsewhere.
It's very detailed how they did it each time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. That is pretty special. Okay, the Aztecs. Now the Aztecs are known for human sacrifice.
Yeah.
But as we just saw, they aren't the only ones that did human sacrifices. Right? The Mayans did as well.
But they were not.
So they're kind of known as warriors. Now your book goes into a lot more detail than what I'm going through up here. Okay? So make sure that you've read your book. And since I didn't put the Cornell notes as an assignment for lesson 2, well, no, you'll still do them. You'll still. Okay.
So it's not due.
Yeah, it will be bonus. I'll serve it as a bonus
It's crazy.
on a quiz.
10 points?
Huh?
10 points?
Yeah, on a quiz. Sure. Okay. So human sacrifice. So the Aztecs had this like warrior culture, and remember from the video, what was the capital of the Aztec Empire? What's built now?
Mexico City.
Mexico City, and it was built on a
Like,
lake. Okay. So the Aztec capital city was built on this lake. It kind of helped protect them, but also provided food and other things. Yes.
You know, somewhere in Mexico, like there's basically sinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
We watched
That was
the
the video we watched.
You watched that in here?
Yeah.
Mexico City sinking.
Yep.
Oh, she really thought she did.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
My mom makes those errors all the time.
Oh, wow.
She was talking to me about she was like, I read this article about such, and I was like, no, Mom, I showed you a video about that yesterday. She's like, oh. Right? So the Aztecs, they really weren't all that friendly to the people that lived around them. They conquered them. They enslaved them. They were,
Didn't care.
yeah,
There were
yeah,
no
they,
feelings involved.
they were kind of bullies, right? There is, from what we know.
That's mean.
So do you think they made many friends?
Yes.
No.
Probably.
Dead friends.
No,
Yeah.
no,
We
they
are
did not
so
make
good
many
friends
friends.
with them.
And in the early 1500s, this guy named Hernan Cortez comes over from Spain, a Spanish explorer, and he's 500 conquistadors against the Aztec Empire. He makes friends with the other tribes, and together they bring the Aztecs
Well,
down.
Couldn't they have done it by the only 500 by like sacrificing stuff like with the disease on them to bring to the Aztecs?
So the knowledge that 1500 conquistadors, I guess the 16th century conquistadors would have known about microbes and disease is not a lot, right? Like they would not have known much about the disease. The Black Death, the Black Plague, that happened about 200 to 300 years before this, they thought, oh, it's caused by rats. That that the rats brought the disease, but it wasn't the rats. It was the fleas that lived on the rats that brought the disease. They carried the illness. So their knowledge of microbiology is really limited, right? But they needed the help of the other tribes.
Tribe that was cannibal?
Hmm?
Was there a
Aztec.
tribe that was cannibal?
I mean, I'm sure that there were some, that there have been some. The Aztecs were not
Cannibals living today?
in some parts of the world. Some, but like, some of them are not, they may not do it all the time. They may only do it in terms of stress. But yeah, there have been cannibals alive on the earth. Yes, Dave.
Didn't they make Ring Around the Rosie based
Oh
on?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
have
the Black Plague.
Yeah, so I thought that was a nice, sweet, cake sound
Oh, yeah. All right, what's this picture of? Anybody know what this?
I was gonna like,
Yeah, but what is, it's the Incas.
it's,
It's a 2-word location. The last word sounds like a Pokemon.
I know that.
The last word sounds like a Pokemon.
Okay.
Wait, what was the question?
What's the name of this what's the name of this location?
Village.
Pikachu.
That's what the last word sounds like.
Huh?
Oh, Pikachu.
Pike.
Machu
Machu Picchu?
Picchu.
What?
Oh, Machu Picchu. Oh.
Wait, did I get it right?
Machu Picchu.
I just said that out loud.
Okay. If you said that, then it was right.
I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, attention up here. Christian.
I'm trying to get.
No, Christian, your Cornell notes you should have done.
No, because I get all my
I know, and you should correct that later. Now you should focus up here. Okay, so it's Machu Picchu. Okay, what country is this located in today?
Brazil.
No,
Dang it.
Jerusalem.
it's a
What?
It's a 4-letter word or 4-letter country
Iran.
Ireland.
in South America.
Sorry.
Oh, in South
In South
America.
America.
Ooh.
What?
Venezuela, no,
Okay.
Venezuela.
Peru.
Oh.
Okay, Peru. Okay. So the Incan civilization, it actually stretched. So now we're done with North American civilizations. Now we're moving on to South American. But the Incan civilization stretched from like Colombia, Ecuador, into Peru, all the way down to Chile.
So it was big.
It was
Chile.
huge.
Was it
3,000
bigger
miles.
than Aztecs though?
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. It was 3,000 miles, and the Incan were kind of. I mean, they were warriors, but they had other tribes that would join the Incan Empire without them having to fight. Like, right? But this is Machu Picchu. It's located near the capital city of the Incan Empire, which was Cusco. Right? Not Kush Kush. That's a grain. And not quinoa, that's also a grain. Right? Cusco, though, is the name of the city where this is located near. And it's high up in the Andes Mountains.
So they're pretty safe up there.
Yeah, they are. And it's really
I
well
have the high
preserved.
ground.
You can go there and pet llamas.
Pet llamas.
Llamas are all around there.
I
Okay?
love the pet llama.
Now, one of the things that, like, if you were to go there today, well, pre or post Corona, right? Because Peru's having trouble with the virus as well. They're hurting. But if you were to go there, some of the things that who's been up at a high altitude before, like up in the Rocky Mountains or somewhere like not flying. Okay, what happens to your breathing high at the
Oh,
altitude?
it's hard to breathe.
Hard.
Very hard.
It's hard
What
to breathe.
do you get a headache?
Yeah.
Do you get nauseous?
Yes.
Yeah, that's called altitude sickness or elevation sickness.
It's
Okay.
terrifying.
So that's if you chose to hike up to Machu Picchu today, that's what you would experience, altitude and so it's not really good. So one of the things that the locals do to help hikers is they hand out pieces of coca leaf.
Huh?
Leaf?
Coca leaf.
Cocoa.
Oh, coca.
Coca leaf.
Coca.
Now what is coca leaf when it's refined turn into?
Dude.
Chocolate.
Oh,
Coffee.
not coffee.
Medicine
Hot
drug?
chocolate.
Some people use it as a medicine, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Cold
drink.
chocolate.
It's illegal.
Drug.
Okay.
Cocaine.
Yeah.
That's what oh my god. I said that.
When it's refined, it turns into cocaine, and
That's
but
crazy.
that goes through a lot of refinement. So you take the leaf, it goes through a lot of refinement. They add chemicals to it. They add all these things.
Wait, so we can get it for free if we go to.
No, but okay. Timmy, what I'm telling you is it goes through a lot of refinement.
Oh,
So yes, you can get the leaf, but the leaf itself is not hazardous.
Yeah.
What they do, what locals in this area have been chewing the coca leaf for centuries, and what it does is it acts similar to aspirin. Like aspirin helps your blood circulate,
Yeah.
right? It acts as a slight blood thinner to help your blood circulate. That's why they say if someone's having a heart attack, what should they take?
Aspirin.
Aspirin.
Spill up.
They should take aspirin if they're having a heart attack because that helps circulate the blood and alleviate stress on the heart.
Oh my.
Okay, so the coca leaf acts similarly, and so helps circulate the blood, and so people can get over the altitude sickness a lot sooner. Yes, that's green.
Okay.
It's a leaf.
Okay.
I was
You
expecting
trying to look for
something.
So, one of the other interesting aspects of the Incan Empire, you know, they were farmers. Okay, in addition to warriors, they weren't just hunters and gatherers. They were farmers. But there's a challenge to farming in the mountains. What is it, Christian?
Besides pressure,
Yeah, besides pressure.
well, the elevation
Mountain
heights.
lion.
Nope, not mountain lions.
There's not that many plants.
Okay, is it easier to farm on flat terrain
Oh, yeah.
or hilly terrain?
Flat.
Flat. Do you find much naturally flat terrain in the mountains?
No.
No. So they ended up farming using terraces.
Oh, wow.
That is.
That's pretty
That's a big
impressive,
terrain.
Yeah.
right? So they cut in these flat, kind of like large stairs.
How long did that take?
Oh, well, I mean, when you have a lot of people willing to work for you or you're gonna kill them,
Oh, that's cool.
right? You know, remember, these guys were warrior, like, they did take slaves. But this allowed them large stairs, kind of, right, to plant in the mountains.
That looks very nice.
That's
Like you
pretty
have a
cool.
wedding there.
That's pretty cool.
Like the people sit in a circle.
Okay.
and like the one in the middle.
And then comes the end.
Yes.
So, the Aztecs had a lot of gold. Like when you think of Aztecs, think gold. When you think of the Incan, think silver. They had a lot of silver. So, Francisco Pizarro was a Spanish conquistador. So the Aztecs were ended by Cortez, Hernan Cortez. The Incan are ended by Pizarro. So one of the things, and this is kind of, yeah, so this is one way that Pizarro killed them. He also killed them in a different way. But Pizarro takes the leader, the Incan leader, hostage.
Okay.
And he says, hey, you pay up or I'm going to kill your leader.
Or he said.
And the Incan pay up.
Why
Like,
didn't they just?
like there's like the Incan, like they knew what silver was, but they did not have as great of reverence for it, or they didn't hold it in such a high esteem as the Spanish did. And so they said, fine, we'll pay you. Give us our leader free. Free our leader. Pizarro got paid, killed the leader.
What?
He screwed himself right there. That's tough.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
no. I mean, killing the leader, it kind of destroyed the Incan Empire. Because the next thing that happens, or one of the things that happens that kind of breaks the Incan Empire apart, one, they don't have their leader anymore, so it's going to fracture.
That's bad.
But two, over hundreds of years, the Incan Empire had built roads, 10,000 miles worth of roads, connecting all segments of their empire. Okay? Now the roads help people travel faster, right?
You think?
No, the roads help people travel faster. What else travels with people unknowingly?
Disease.
Disease. So the Spanish brought disease. They didn't realize that they were bringing disease, but their immune system had been exposed to different illnesses in Europe, and that the immune systems of Native Americans had not been exposed to. And so that the disease spread.
Pass it on.
And it spread like wildfire. And with the roads, it helped spread throughout the Incan Empire, and that essentially is what collapsed it.
How do I
Now,
help
you can
them?
still find people that live in Peru, they are still of Incan descent. Right? That has not changed. Just like people who live in Mexico, it can be from Aztec or Mayan descent. Okay? People in Mexico are also, some are mixed with Spanish blood because Spain colonized Mexico, right? And so you'll see that throughout. And then later on, Spain and Portugal will bring enslaved people from Africa. And so you'll see in some Spanish-speaking countries, a lot of people that look African American, like they're just black Latinos, they're black Hispanics. Okay, like
I've never seen them before.
in I'm sure you have in the Caribbean, Jamaica.
Oh yeah.
Okay, do you think the people that were first on the island of Jamaica were black?
No.
No, they were Native American. But it's a result of enslaved people brought over by the Spanish. Yes.
What would happen if they were alive like today?
What do you mean?
They be dead.
I'm saying, what if they were alive like today?
That makes so much
Like the exact people?
Yeah. Well, not the exact people from like their empire and everything was still running smoothly.
I mean, if they survived all this time and they're still up and running today, I don't see a reason why they wouldn't continue. Right?
I mean, we can take that.
One other key aspect of the Incan, I just remembered. They had a verbal language, but the Incan people did not have a written language. So they talked with one another, but they never put that verbal language down on writing. Instead, and this is really trippy for us to think about, right? Because we all know how to read, write, and speak our language. But instead, the Incan communicated with one another using like knots tied in rope.
What?
I don't know how it worked. I really, and it's really hard, like even for me to think about how how records were kept like this.
There's like so many ways we could do that.
Yeah, but they used knots tied in rope to keep a record.
It's crazy.
Oh, whoa.
They,
They're
So-
creative.
Yeah, I
Native
don't.
Americans are really creative.
Yeah, I don't get that part though. Yeah.
This tiny piece of rope means.
Well, I mean, I think it would be longer strands, but they would still have knots tied into it.
Do they like tie letters or something?
I don't know.
Wait,
I don't know. Yes.
maybe it's like a long one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, like it's one rope.
I
Each
think your
knot
book,
is
your
considered.
textbook has a picture of it. It's
Where?
called Quickness. Is what they would.
Wait, did we understand how to use it, or are we still like?
There may be some people that understand how to use it.
What
Let's
chapter
see.
is this in?
Hey, National Geographic. There you go.
We're just gonna watch this.
In Peru.
When you work with archaeological objects, you are like entering the world of your ancestors. I like to think that in a way they talk to us.
So what she's doing, I think,
A
is
kipu is an counting device made of cotton strings that use knots.
okay. So that's the example of the Kipu is how he pronounced it. But so what she is doing is, I assume that she is unraveling an actual quipus or quipu that was used by the Incas. That's why she's pinning it in place, right? Y'all know, well, let's see, y'all will do your bug project for biology next year.
Bug
But-
project.
Yeah, with
Wait, what's
Mr.
that?
Reed.
Oh, I saw what Faith did. That was nasty. I ain't doing that.
What is
Oh, no,
it?
you'll do
What
it.
do you have to?
You have to
Okay,
capture
so-
bugs.
so
and like,
In Mr. Reed's biology class, he'll have you capture bugs and you have to pin them on a, display them. Because it's part of his class, okay?
Oh.
You'll have to ask him about the purpose, because it's not
I got
my.
grasp
But
of
it's something that has been done in biology classes for a long time. I remember when I was in high school, I never had to do it, but other students did. Okay. But that's what she's doing here. She's putting pins in it to help preserve it, to help keep it stationary.
To represent numbers.
A kipu is the accountants of life. The quipus were made in Inca times by Quipu Camayos.
The Kipucamayos, the only ones who were able to read it, died and didn't pass the knowledge to the next generations. There's a lot of questions still to get answered.
Don't even know.
My biggest hope for Incahuasi is to be able to excavate all the site. The quipus are very well preserved because the environment of the Peruvian coast is very arid, so you have a very good preservation of any organic remain.
is that flesh?
This must be 600 years old, and you can see the preservation is very well.
So-
You know that the numbers we found in the quipus are the counts of these products.
They have been buried for 600 years, and so what we do is the conservation. That means keep them clean and straight so the analyzer can come and study them.
I think this discovery will bring a better understanding of quipus and also in how the Incas dominate and control these local populations.
Many people say that because we had no writing, our culture was not developed, but we really have things like quipus that show that it was a very developed culture.
every time is exciting because we are finding them in different.
That is, what she said there is really important to keep in mind when you're studying different cultures or the historical aspects. We may have a tendency to be a little bit judgmental on things when we look at, examine another culture and call a culture undeveloped, or as the American settlers moving out west, what nickname did they give Native Americans? Starts with an S.
Squanto.
Savage.
Oh.
They called them savages, right? And that's really you're degrading the individual, right? It's a lot easier to think of a Native American not being human if you call them savage,
It's like an animal.
right? Yeah, it's like an animal. And so we need to keep that in mind, that no, these Native American tribes that we're going to be looking at, they were developed. In fact, the Cherokee and the Iroquois, which were in Georgia, Iroquois up in New York, they had their own governmental systems and way of doing things that really were, and they tried to adopt the American way, but we still treated them poorly.
In contexts and in different situations, and different sizes, different shapes, colors, knots, so we can have a very big data of these people so we can compare them and get any kind of insight to see how to read them or how to understand them.
The first one, when you see them like really dirty as spaghetti, and then at the end, they're just like, take me a picture, they're so pretty. I think the Kipus are grateful.
All right. Any questions over the Incan or Aztecs or? Okay, we have a quiz tomorrow.
On the lesson for the cornell nuts?
Yes.
On
that's-
Uh-oh.
yes.
Okay.
The Mayan, the Aztecs, the Olmecs,
If
the
you do your
Incas.
Cornell,
Should I
that's gonna be an
study
extra point.
Yes.
It's really gonna be.
Wonderful. You're doing my Cornell.